Hello ladies and gentlemen of SeemsGoodMagic.com. This is Travis here with you for our Monday video. Gonna do a draft today. Don't worry, we'll be getting back to sealed. I saw some positive comments and people who were excited about seeing more sealed. I'd like to do a mix, but I think I will, at the end of things, eventually lean towards mostly doing sealed videos, just because nobody ever really does. That said, I've jammed a whole lot of them on stream lately, so thought it might be fun to take a break, do a draft, have 3 rounds of hot Oath of the Gatewatch action. Well, hopefully 3 rounds. I'm obviously planning on winning, but it could only be 1 round. I guess we'll find out when 4 more people want to play. All right, and here we are. And this is actually an interesting pick. We've got Thought Not Seer, which is worth $1 or $2, and we've got Baloth Null, which is just an amazing card. Like, I think if we're at the Pro Tour, I probably consider the Baloth Null. I mean, I could even see an argument for the Tajuru Pathwarden or the Blinding Drone, but this card is worth 12 tickets right now. It's also eminently playable in this format. A 4-mana 4/4, even if you have to draft the lands for it, isn't bad. And the fact that it pays for basically most of the draft, I think means you just grab it and move along. I don't always rare draft in videos, but when you open something that's worth 12 tickets, I think you just need to go ahead and go for it. And like I said, we could end up playing it, but I'm not going to look at that as a, Ermagerd, we've got to be colorless now. I'm going to look at it as a, oh, okay, we got a Thought Not Seer. Some of you noted in the sealed videos that I seem to be down a little bit on the Loam Larva, and I think this card is better than I gave it credit for. There's a lot of aggressive decks, so the 1/3 body is relevant. And if you're going to do shenanigans like play wastes or, you know, splash a color, this is kind of what you want. That said, this pack sort of sucks. There's not anything here that's relatively interesting. Or I guess there's cards that go in a deck, but not anything that's like particularly amazing in it. I'm probably going to lean towards the Stalking Drone because it goes with the Thought Not Seer, and I don't hate being black. I've not loved blue very much in this format. I wouldn't hate someone for picking a free runner. I feel like if we've already got some incentive to do this, and this can at least trade off later. There's also an argument for taking the Stalking Drone for the same reason, and green's actually pretty good. You know, I may go into that. It opens up a little bit more for us. Like, none of these are exciting second picks. I'm not missing something, am I? No, none of this is, like, amazing. We'll grab a Stalking Drone. Like, the next pack should give us some direction, I hope. If it doesn't, that's all right. All right. Well, it gives us Isolation Zone, which, seeing that 3rd pick may mean white is open. I've been very impressed with the green-white aggro deck in this format, so if we can end up in that, that's not something I mind at all. The fact that this is basically a Grizzly Bear is fine. White isn't the best color to pair with colorless mana stuff, but you can still sometimes make it work, and again, we don't have to play the Thought Not Seer. It's a weird format when a colorless first pick doesn't always make your deck, but weird format it is. I'm going to grab the removal. Like, sometimes you just got to point a bunch of Hedrons at a vampire with tape on its forehead, I guess is what's happening there. I couldn't really tell you. All right, into Inverter of Truth. Not again. I tried this and it got me. Things here that have me interested are the Blinding Drone. I don't love blue-white. I don't love blue-white colorless. Like, this is really a color combo that is not too great. Dutch is making a lot of noise over there. I also played a black-white deck that was just phenomenal. Could see an argument for the Larva and pick up a Waste. I could see an argument for the Netcaster Spider. But I think this early in the draft, I'm supposed to just take the Blinding Drone. It's the best card. And like blue-green colorless, is it the best deck on the planet? Probably not. But I have built a tempo deck once that involved big green dudes and sweepaways. Like, maybe if we'd first picked that Tajuru Pathwarden, we'd have a better shot of this coming together. Yeah, I don't know what's happening now. Anybody else had drafts like this where it's just kind of bizarre what's open and what's not? Because here's a Soothsayer and a Chain Mage and a Quagmire, all of which are good. I'm kind of tempted to just slam the Soothsayer and have basically a card of every color. We'll just need to pick a red card next time, and we're good to go. There is a Scythe Master there, which is a card I like, but... and Prophet of Distortion. Okay, so this starts to look a little more reasonable if we do something like this and say, okay, perhaps we are black, blue, or maybe even blue, white, maybe even blue, green. Like, I'm going to take the profit. We're going to have to get some colorless sources, but this is a finisher. I'm going to put it over here because you kind of just want to drop it on 5 mana, but no real idea what I'm doing yet. I think for most of the first pack, you're supposed to just take the best cards. It's weird, the decks that I've had the best finishes with have kind of been some of the ones where it started a mess like this. But then once you finally did figure out which color was open, you could really dive in. These late blue cards are interesting. Like, we kind of have just a blue colorless thing going, which I kind of like. We can draw cards, we can mess up their stuff. We're not going to get a million wastes. It does feel like blue is open. Mind Melter has been okay. Chain Mage has been pretty damn awesome. Chain Mage leaves us open to go into... It gives us another ally to tap with the Soothsayer. And it leaves us open to still being black-white allies, which seems kind of slim, but it could happen. Then again, I may just be leaning too heavily on this Isolation Zone as a sign. Like, if you're not going to take the blue-black card, you're probably not playing the right deck. And this can do some dangerous things. So can a Seer's Lantern. Oh, I'm almost going to time out, but I'm going to take the Chain Mage. I've seen this guy do some good stuff. Comparative Analysis really hasn't impressed me. Neither has Null Caller, but I mean, it can block, I guess. Cultivator Drone I like quite a bit. I think this is finally going to say, okay, you're blue-black. Like, we can take that and maybe spin some Entanglers. It's kind of weird to see this free runner going this late, but that's all right. That's all right. We'll take the Cultivator Drone. Gives us a colorless source to use with these bad boys. We're going to want to pick up a colorless land at some point, too. I don't mind the Avenger. That can kill people. This might be a crab deck. I don't think this is a Visions of Brutality deck, at least not what we're doing so far. I don't consider Comparative Analysis a good card, but it's something I can play if we have to. Same with Witness the End. Don't love it, but it could happen. We'll send the green to let people know we're not in green. I can't imagine there's a point where we side that in, but I mean, every card does have a scenario in which it's okay. So I guess this is not a bad start. We've got to prioritize more colorless sources like Cultivator Drone, and we're a bit stocked up on 4s. So like early drops are things that will interest us. We're pretty good on the single casting cost here, so it shouldn't be too difficult to fit in the colorless sources. Null Caller I'm not excited about. I kind of wish this was an ally. I mean, you can get value out of it if you've got nothing better to do. And a 2/4 does block a lot of the aggressive starts, but it would be really good if it was an ally and we could kind of do shenanigans with the Soothsayer and stuff like that with it. So here, I mean, if we wanted to say, screw it, we're just going to try white-black allies anyway and ditch all these blue cards, we could have 2 isolation zones, but I'm not convinced that's the direction we want to go when we've already got a deck that's interested in colorless sources and has kind of some heavy drops. Like, I feel like the Hedron Crawler is just what we want to be doing. Yeah. It's not an exciting first pick, but like, we've basically won the draft with the Thought-Knot Seer, so we can be happy there. And I mean, we're probably going to see good white this pack, because it kind of felt like there wasn't much good white. I'm still not certain that I like the Chain Mage pick that I took. It might have been reasonable at the time, but it's seeming less reasonable now. Essence Depleter is another really good card for this deck. The Vampiric Envoy may be better. We've got a challenge of whether I want to do something that can block and interact really well with the Chain Mage and the Soothsayer, or if I want a card that can eventually win a game by itself while also being a good blocker. I think the late game power of the Essence Depleter, if I can cram enough colorless sources in here, makes me want the Depleter. If the Depleter and the Envoy weren't here, I would happily pick this Submerged Boneyard. Like, I actively want this in the deck. As a dual land like this, when you're splashing for a third color, which we are here, really lets you fit an extra colorless source in there, but I don't think I can pass on this guy. It blocks early. It fills a curve in our hole. It fills a hole in our curve. And we've already got 2 colorless sources, so I can kind of be happy with that. Here again, I'd like another crawler, but because of all the reasons I just debated taking this over the Essence Depleter, I think I have to take the Envoy. It's the Wombo combo with the Soothsayer. It enables both of our other things while blocking. Like, it's just everything I want. I would like another crawler, but I'm not passing another one of these for it. This is probably a deck that could get some value out of a Seer's Lantern. As I mentioned, there's good white cards. There's also randomly a Tajuru Pathwarden. But I think this deck could use a Seer's Lantern. Now, you'd think this would be the deck where I'd be like, slam that Mind Melter, but I kind of just want to take this other Hedron Crawler and be good to go. It's neat that this gives us a source, a mana sink. I mean, we've already got one in the Prophet and the Seer's Lantern. But I kind of want my early drops to either ramp me or block. And this doesn't do either of them. There's an argument for Containment Membrane and an argument for Crumbling Vestige. But I think Crawler just gives us the most consistency. And now, like, I don't need any more colorless sources. I would like a colorless land if I can grab one, but I don't have to have one. There's another Blinding Drone. That's an easy in. Because, again, I want to fill in this part of the curve. We can find some dumb flyer in the BFZ packs and slam it in here, like a Windrider Patrol or something like that. Like the one Jwara Owl Avenger I'm not thinking is going to be enough to win the game for us, but we could get a Coral Helm Guide or hell, a Ruin Processor would be fine. Our removal suite doesn't look amazing, but when you consider Blinding Drone is pseudo removal, I think we're okay. Like, we actually can't deal with any of their creatures. Our only spells are the Comparative Analysis and the Lantern. So kind of feel like this deck is going to revolve around blocking. Drawing cards. Blocking. I like blocking. I like drawing cards. How many Blinding Drones is too many when you would like a colorless land? I don't know. Let's find out. I kind of feel like this card's amazing. Okay, so I like the Cultivator Drone. I like the Sweep Away. But I think I'm getting at the point where I really want repeatable colorless sources as land drops. I mean, Cultivator Drone kind of does all those things too, but people can kill it. And you may need the 2/3 to block. Is that just wrong? That might just be wrong. Because like most of our deck is devoid. I think this is my last shot at getting a land drop that can give me colorless. But if I have this, I've got 4 sources, 5 sources without anything. So we're gonna cultivate. I really can't envision Corpse Churn being something I want, nor Oath of Jace. I mean, this will dig you through a bunch of cards. I guess I'll take that. Who knows? Maybe we open a Planeswalker. Okay, cool. Jwara Owl Avenger. That is something we're interested in here. I can't think of one we'd play from BFZ, but these are fine as little finishers. We can potentially, like, let's say we go turn 2 Hedron Crawler, turn 3 Blinding Drone. I guess we still couldn't get it out that fast, but it can do a thing. Wow! So many crawlings. Like, we're almost down to where I can place 16 lands. Because I've got so many 2-mana ramps. That's absurd. Alright, let's get rid of these Mighty Leaps. We don't need any colorless lands now. And we can go straight from 2 to 4 and land, you know, big threats like Null Caller and Comparative Analysis. I don't need this Comparative Analysis. I've already got the Soothsayer and the Prophet to draw cards. I just don't need something like that. So basically we built a deck that can try to ramp/lock down the early game. Probably lose immediately. Oh, there's a kill condition. To like a Boiling Earth or something like that. I don't mind having another mana sink either. And this can be our big dumb finisher if we don't find something better. I kind of hope we do, but I'll take it. Can you find us a path to victory? All right, Alright, Tide Drifter is okay, but I think Titan's Presence might just be actual removal in our deck. And we don't have any. There's also a Sky Spawner, which is just fandamtastic. Like, there's lots of cards here that we want. How am I killing my opponent's stuff? I'm gonna not do that, basically. We have 19 creatures, and our only spell doesn't really interact with our opponent at all. So Titan's Presence is going to do 1 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage, 1 damage. It's actually a 3 mana shock, or very limited Boiling Earth. We could just try, you know, present all the dudes. Just spew out dudes and have no interaction and say good luck. I don't think I want to first pick a Demon's Grasp. I don't think I want a Ruin Processor. I've already got a big dumb thing. I guess we're counting Blinding Drone as our removal, and we're going to try to win off of Mind Melter and Sky Spawner. I could see picking the Demon's Grasp there. I don't think Titan's Presence looks good when you look at the rest of the deck, but I could kind of see it being a thing. Dampening Pulse, I don't like it as much as most people do. That said, it's probably the pick here. If our deck's all about slamming creatures on the table, then that is a way to at least interact. And I've got enough dudes, and none of these are dudes that we would want. So, sure, let's get damp. This deck looks terrible, so it should probably win. Weird to see things like Aggregate and Royal Spout this late. Like, we don't have the fixing to be able to play the Royal Spout. But I can take a Coral Helm Guide and call this a deck. It interacts favorably with the Soothsayer. It can force through a little bit of damage here and there if we get flooded out. Can tap it with the Chain Mage. You can exile it to the Null Caller. So, sure. Here's our deck. Anything else from here is just upgrades. So how crazy do I want to go? Would I rather have this as a finisher? I might. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 mana accelerants. And we can make a 6/6 and then attack. I could also just take the Demon's Grasp so that I have something in my deck that's not a creature and I can kill a thing. If our opponent plays a thing and we need to kill it, we can be like, okay, here, it's dead. So everybody's probably screaming at their monitors, take the Water Veil, have some fun. I actively dislike fun. I'd rather be able to kill something. That kind of hurts a little bit. I've played 20 creature decks before. I've typically been aggro decks as opposed to this, but I'll take it. So now we're looking at replacing a slot. I wouldn't mind cutting some of this stuff. We do kind of have the Ramp into Nothing plan going on here. So it's arguable that I could cut one of these. That said, I feel like we've got enough card draw that flooding out isn't really that big a deal. I could take Tightening Coils for removal, or I could just take another Demon's Grasp. I could also take the Devastator as just a big thing to play at. I think I'm going to go with Demon's Grasp number 2, and we'll figure out what creature to cut for it later. Horribly Rise, a little bit more interaction. Wavewing Elemental is an actual finisher. I don't love Wavewing Elemental in draft, but it may kind of just be what we need to do here. No, it's not, actually. Because, like, we've got Essence Depleter as a finisher. With enough mana, you can kill them with a Coral Helm Guide and some random idiot. We've got a lot of card draw, so I think the thing I'm most interested in would be a Horribly Awry as a sideboard card versus an aggro deck. I could see playing Anticipate in this deck, but as I famously did once on stream, I believe it was actually in a Streamer Showdown, I played a deck with 4 Demon's Grasps, and it was amazing! So, bad removal is removal. I'll take it. We don't really have any way of exiling their stuff besides the Mind Melter. We've had some opportunities to pick it up and just haven't. Like, this guy exiles a card. Mind Melter can exile a card. Like, you'd think we'd have the removal spells that would do it for us, but we kind of don't. I could take a Dispel for the board, which I say I'll board in and hardly ever do, or a Night Watch as a dude. We got enough dudes. I'll take the Dispel. We could also hate the Boiling Earth, because we kind of can't beat it, but I'm not up for all that. There we go. We got there, ladies and gentlemen. Demon's Grasp number 4. How many can you fit in the deck, Travis? Doesn't matter. As many as you want. Sure. Hardly ever play the Mire. This just shouldn't be here. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's crazy. I don't like it. But I can't not take the Ruin Processor. We do have 2 ways to exile, which matters a lot more on a 7-drop than on the 4-drop we saw earlier. And it's just a big dumb thing that interacts favorably with the guide. Alright, so weirdest draft ever. We ended up with plenty of creatures, so I think we can cut like the really crappy ones. I've never played blue-black ramp. I feel like this was the deck that was open to us. A lot of people are going to think maybe that 4 Demon's Grasps is too much. I found that this kills most of what you want to kill in the format. It doesn't give you a discount, but I still feel like we can interact favorably with early game. Let's see where we're at here. I usually start Dampening Pulse in the sideboard and then bring it in. I think this deck might be the one that wants it in the main deck. I also don't know how this has turned out with BFZ being a thing. But let's figure it all out. I think the Null Caller is a pretty easy cut, as that's just not doing a lot for us. It's a late game mana sink, but we've already got a couple of those with the Mind Melter and the Prophet. Again, that's really more up here. We've got one big finisher. We've got some cutesies with a couple flyers that maybe we can turn 5. But I've got to make 3 cuts, and we're going to have to pick what they are. I feel like a big part of this deck is the ramp, but I might actually cut... That just gives me such a level of consistency, but it does run the risk of ramping into nothing. That said, we can just hold the ground for so long. I might could cut one of these, but it feels weird. I'm not cutting this, I'm not cutting that, I'm not cutting this. I can't cut the Envoy or the Guide, or I've cut off my other allies. I'm not cutting these. I don't necessarily want the Seer's Lantern, but... Huh. Yeah, there's no cuts to make. That's weird. It feels like I can get a stupid amount of mana and then cast Demon's Grasp. Maybe we start with 1 here. That does limit my, turn 3 play a 4-drop plan. But I've only got 2 4-drops. We're not really crazy about ramping there. The Cultivator Drone doesn't ramp out like the Soothsayer, but it does let me activate the Prophet. It does ramp out the Processor. Like, it does things. People gonna call me crazy, but I'm gonna cut this out. I'm not cutting the Demon's Grasp or these. The Mind Melter looks like the next most likely cut, unless we just give up on our aggro shenanigans, or our ally shenanigans. Like, there's an argument that maybe I don't need the Coral Helm Guide, but like taking out an ally really screws up the other ones. Could also take out the Chain Mage, but it just seems like an easy way to possibly win the game. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colorless sources without any lands. This is really tough. I'm not cutting another Demon's Grasp. It may just be the Mind Melter, which feels weird. Because, like, that's how we're killing them. Taking out the Chain Mage just makes the Crawler even worse, because, like I said, like, you want to ramp into a turn 4 play on turn 3, and you can't this way. Maybe it's the drone, but then I'm screwing up my colorless sources, and I'm still not sure about this, and I've got a minute and a half left, so we've got to make a decision. Yeah, I feel like it might be the Coral Helm Guide. That feels really weird. Let me know what you guys would have done here. I have no idea which of these is correct. I do like this mana split. I would play a waste if I had one, but I don't. So we're going to submit this and try it out in round 1 and see what comes our way. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you back in just a minute.